Level 1, the application. You apply on a Tuesday in October. Not because Tuesday in October is a good day to apply, because that is the day the airline posted the opening. Major airlines post cabin crew positions on average twice a year. When they post, thousands of people apply within 48 hours. You are one of 12,000 applicants for 300 positions. That is a 2.5% acceptance rate. You have a better chance of getting into certain Ivy League universities. The requirements look simple from the outside. High school diploma or equivalent, minimum age of 18 at most carriers, 21 at others, able to swim, able to reach the overhead bins at full arm extension, which at most airlines means a reach height of at least 80 inches from the floor, no visible tattoos in uniform, fluent in English. A second language is not required, but will move your application to a different pile. You speak Mandarin at conversational level from 2 years of evening classes. You put it on the form. You are in a different pile. The process takes 4 months. A video interview first, 60 seconds per question. The questions are about conflict resolution and working in teams in a time you delivered exceptional service to someone. You have not worked in aviation before. You describe a moment at your retail job where you calmed a frustrated customer during a system outage. The answer is correct in structure, if not in setting. You pass the video interview. A group assessment day next. 50 candidates in a room. Role plays, group exercises, a cabin mock-up where you are asked to demonstrate how you would handle a disruptive passenger. You are being watched for how you communicate, how you carry yourself, and whether you have what they internally call presence. Presence is not beauty. It is the specific quality of someone who can manage 30 people in a metal tube at 35,000 feet while appearing entirely calm. You have it or you don't. You have it. A medical assessment, a background check, a final interview, and then a phone call on a Wednesday afternoon from a number you have saved as "Do not miss this call." You get the job. You tell your family. Your mother cries. You report to training in 6 weeks.
Level 2, the training. Training lasts 6 weeks. You are not paid your full salary yet. You receive a training stipend. At most major carriers, this is somewhere between $25 and $30 a day. You are being paid less than $30 a day to learn one of the most safety-critical jobs in commercial aviation. The pay will make sense later when you understand what the training actually is. It is not customer service training. That is approximately 10% of the 6 weeks. 90% of training is how to save lives. You learn emergency evacuation procedures for every aircraft type in the fleet. You practice opening emergency exits under timed conditions, 12 seconds. That is how long it should take you to open an emergency exit door and have passengers moving. You run the 12-second drill until your hands do it without your brain's involvement. You learn firefighting, not theoretical firefighting. You enter a room with a real fire and use a real extinguisher. Your hands shake the first time. They do not shake the second. You learn ditching procedures, what to do when the aircraft lands on water, where the life rafts are, how to activate them, how to inflate a life vest in the dark using your breath because electricity may not be available. You learn CPR and AED operation. You learn how to recognize a cardiac event, a stroke, a diabetic emergency, an allergic reaction, a seizure, a childbirth in progress. All of these have happened on commercial aircraft. All of them will happen again. You learn the brace position. You learn when to call it. You learn what to say on the PA system when the situation has moved beyond turbulence and you need passengers prepared. You learn all of this in 6 weeks, and then you sit an exam that you must pass with a score of 90% or above. Below 90%, you do not graduate. Below 90%, you go home. You score 94. They put wings on your uniform. The ceremony is brief. The wings are small. What they represent is not.
Level 3, the reserve. Welcome to reserve. Reserve is the phase of the career that nobody who has not experienced it can fully explain to anyone who has not. You are on call.
Not on call in the way that a doctor is on call, where you have advance notice of the general nature of what you might be called for. On call in the way that your phone can ring at 3:45 in the morning and you have 90 minutes to be in uniform at the airport for a flight to a destination you will learn about when you arrive. This is the job for your first 1 to 5 years. At large legacy carriers, reserve can last 4 years before you have enough seniority to hold a line. You keep a packed bag by the door at all times. Not a fashion bag, a crew bag. Uniform pressed and ready. Toiletries already inside. Shoes polished, because the 90 minutes is not negotiable. Your schedule is called a reserve line. You are assigned a sequence of reserve days and days off. On your reserve days, you are available within 2 hours of being called. You cannot be more than 2 hours from the airport, not for dinner, not for a movie, not for anything. You date someone for 3 months who cannot understand why you cannot commit to plans more than 48 hours in advance. You try to explain reserve. They do not fully understand. The relationship does not survive to month 4. You do not hold this against them. Reserve pay at a major U.S. carrier starts at around $28,000 annually. You are making $28,000 a year for a job that requires you to be within 2 hours of an airport at all hours and to be capable of managing a life-threatening emergency with no warning. You are also flying to cities you have never been to, and back the same day sometimes, which is called a turn. A turn means you fly to a city and return without a layover. You see the inside of an aircraft and the inside of a gate and the inside of another aircraft. You do not see the city. You do turns in the early career and you do them with the specific cheerfulness that reserve crew maintain because the alternative costs too much energy. You will have time to see the cities later, if you stay long enough.
Level 4. The line holder. Seniority is the currency of commercial aviation, not performance, not charm, not the quality of your service. Seniority. The date you are hired relative to every other flight attendant at your carrier. Seniority determines your schedule. Seniority determines your routes. Seniority determines your base. Seniority determines which seat you sit in during training recurrency. Seniority determines almost every material condition of your working life. You cannot accelerate it. You cannot earn more of it. You can only wait. You have waited 3.5 years. You now hold a line. Holding a line means you have enough seniority to bid for a regular monthly schedule rather than being placed on standby. Each month you submit your preferences, the routes you want, the days off you want, the aircraft type you prefer. Seniority processes those preferences in order. The most senior crew get first pick, then the next, until the schedule is filled. You are not the most senior, you are not close to the most senior, but you are no longer the least senior either. You get a schedule with predictable days off. You can now plan a dinner 3 weeks from now. This feels extraordinary because for 3.5 years it was not possible. Your base pay has grown. You are now making between $47,000 and $63,000 a year, depending on your flight hours. There is also per diem. Per diem is a daily allowance paid for every hour you are away from your home base on a trip. It runs between $1.80 and $3 per hour, depending on your airline and contract. On a long international layover, per diem adds up. On a domestic 2-day trip with 1 layover, it adds $40 or $60. It is not insignificant. You have learned to treat per diem as a separate line in your budget. The lifestyle is still not a 9 to 5. You work nights, you work holidays, you work Christmas. You have worked 3 of the last 4 New Year's Eves at altitude. You have seen midnight in 5 time zones this year. 1 of them was memorable. 4 of them were work.
Level 5. The senior flight attendant. You have been flying for 7 years. 7 years of pre-flight safety checks. 7 years of jump seat takeoffs and landings. 7 years of the same safety demonstration. The demonstration you have done approximately 2,000 times. You still do it correctly every time. Not because you are thinking about it, because the day you stop doing it correctly is the day it matters. Your seniority now gives you something you could not have imagined on reserve: the ability to say no to certain things. Not no to the work, no to the parts of the work that used to be non-negotiable. No to the red-eyed domestic turn on Christmas Eve. No to the 3-city domestic sweep that gets you home at 1 in the morning. You bid for the routes you want, and you get more of them than you used to. Your salary is between $65,000 and $90,000, depending on your airline, your fleet, and how many hours you fly. You are on a wide body now. International routes: London, Tokyo, Sydney, Dubai. You have seen these cities in the specific way that layover crews see them. 14 hours of hotel and the part of the city you can reach by foot or by train before crew rest starts. You know every crew hotel in 6 time zones. You know which ones have gyms. You know which ones have blackout curtains, because the blackout curtains matter when your body thinks it is 3 in the morning and the local time is 2 in the afternoon and you need to sleep. You have a circadian rhythm that has not been a rhythm in years. It's more of an improvisation. You do not discuss this at dinner parties because there is no way to explain it that does not sound like a complaint. And you are not complaining. You chose this. You are still choosing it. You have also handled things in the last 7 years that you do not talk about at dinner parties for a different reason. The passenger who coded at 37,000 feet over the Atlantic. You ran the defibrillator. You kept him alive until the divert. He sent a letter to the airline 6 weeks later. You read it in the crew room and then went and did the pre-flight safety check on the next aircraft. That is the job. That has always been the job. It just doesn't appear in the recruitment materials.
Level 6. The lead flight attendant. There is a position between flight attendant and purser at most carriers. Lead flight attendant, or position D1, or forward galley lead. The terminology changes by airline. The function is the same. You are the senior crew member responsible for cabin coordination on narrow-body domestic aircraft. You communicate with the flight deck. You manage the crew. You handle the escalated passenger situations. You are the one the other crew turn to when something goes wrong. Not if, when, because something always goes wrong. Medical events are the most common. Somewhere between 3 and 4 in-flight medical emergencies occur every 1,000 flight hours across commercial aviation. In a year, you will manage between 4 and 8 of them yourself. You have become proficient in the kind of calm that is not the absence of adrenaline, it is the management of adrenaline. The adrenaline is present, and you have learned to use it as fuel rather than noise. Your pay includes a lead differential, an additional premium for the supervisory function. Total compensation is now between $70,000 and $95,000, depending on hours and airline. You have also started seeing the other side of the work, not the passenger side, the crew side. Managing a cabin crew team means managing humans. The junior flight attendant who is on her 2nd week flying and has not yet developed the adrenaline management. The crew member who is dealing with something personal that is making the professional difficult. The long-haul crew member who has been in the industry 22 years and is waiting for you to prove you understand the job before he respects your lead. You manage all of them correctly or the cabin does not function. You have learned that leadership in a metal tube at altitude is not about authority. It is about clarity. In an emergency, people do not need authority. They need to know exactly what to do and in exactly what order. You can give them that now. This is the thing the years built. Not the salary, not the routes, the clarity.
Level 7. The purser. The purser role is the most senior operational position on an aircraft that most passengers have never heard of. The captain commands the aircraft. The purser commands the cabin. These are not the same thing. The captain is responsible for the safe operation of the aircraft. You are responsible for everything that happens inside it. The service, the safety, the crew, the passengers, the relationship between all of the above. You have been flying for 12 years. You have passed the purser assessment, which is an additional training program that takes 6 weeks and covers cabin leadership, emergency command procedures, first-class service standards, duty-free management, and incident reporting protocols.
You passed. Not everyone does. You now fly wide-body international aircraft. You manage a crew of between 8 and 14 flight attendants, depending on the aircraft type. You run the pre-flight crew briefing. You assign positions. You set the tone for the flight. If you are calm, the crew is calm. If the crew is calm, the passengers are calm. The entire emotional weather of a 280-passenger aircraft is significantly downstream of the tone you set in the crew briefing 45 minutes before boarding. You now occupy the sharp end of the aircraft, the first-class cabin. You manage a passenger experience that costs some of these people $10,000 for a single seat. They have expectations. Some of those expectations are reasonable. Some are not. You have developed the specific skill of delivering both responses with identical warmth. Your salary, with the purser premium, per diem, and international flight pay, is between $85,000 and $120,000. The number crossed 6 figures, and you remember the year it happened and the specific flight you were on when you did the annual calculation. You were somewhere over the Pacific. It was dark outside, and the passengers were asleep, and you sat in the forward galley with a coffee and did the math on your phone. The forward galley is the only place on an aircraft that functions like a backstage. You have spent more hours in galleys than in any room that is not your own bedroom. You know galleys. You know every way they can fail, and every workaround when they do. That knowledge is worth more than the salary.
Level 8. The Cabin Service Director. You have been in the industry for 16 years. The title changes by airline. Cabin Service Director at some carriers, In-Flight Service Manager at others, Senior Purser at others. The function is the same. You are the most senior cabin crew member on the aircraft, not on your specific section. On the aircraft, all crew report to you. You report to the captain. You are the interface between the flight deck and the cabin. When the captain needs to relay information to the passengers, it comes through you. When the cabin has a situation that requires flight deck awareness, you communicate it. The relationship between the cabin and the flight deck is entirely mediated by this position. You have flown with captains you trust completely. You have flown with captains who treat the cabin as a separate and secondary concern. With the former, the flight runs better. With the latter, you manage the gap. That is also the job. Your crew on a given long-haul flight is between 14 and 18 people. You know within 20 minutes of the pre-flight briefing everything you need to know about the dynamic of this specific crew. Who the strong ones are, who is having a difficult period, who has flown this route before and who is on it for the first time. You adjust the briefing and the assignments accordingly. This is not instinct. It is 16 years of observation compressed into pattern recognition. You no longer need to think about most of it. Total compensation is between $95,000 and $140,000 at major carriers. You have also noticed something about the job that you did not expect to notice at this stage. You thought the career would feel lighter as the seniority grew. It is not. The responsibility grew faster than the seniority. You now carry the weight of every person on that aircraft, not metaphorically, operationally. Their safety, their well-being, the quality of their experience, the accuracy of the safety compliance. All of it yours. You carry it at altitude. You carry it in the crew hotel. You carry it on the transit bus between the terminal and the aircraft. You carry it efficiently enough that the passengers cannot see it. That is the performance inside the performance, the one nobody in economy sees.
Level 9. The Instructor. You have left the line. Not permanently. You still fly regularly to maintain your certifications and your connection to the operation, but your primary role is now training the people who fly the line. You are a check air person and cabin crew trainer. This means 2 things. You train new hire cabin crew in the initial qualification program, and you assess existing crew during annual recurrency training. Both functions are critical. One builds the foundation, one maintains it. Initial training is 6 weeks. You have stood at the front of that classroom more times than you can count. You can deliver the emergency evacuation module in the dark. You have. The power cut during a training exercise 3 years ago. You kept going. The class noticed.
That is the lesson that training books do not contain. The recurrency function is different. You assess experienced crew on their emergency procedures. Some of these crew have been flying longer than you have been a trainer. Some of them have more experience than you. Your assessment of their performance is still the standard they must meet. There is a specific dynamic in evaluating a 20-year veteran when you yourself have 17 years. You manage it with respect and precision in equal measure. The assessment is the assessment. Nothing personal, everything professional. A crew member who fails the evacuation drill must remediate before flying. This is not discretionary. This is safety. You have failed crew who have been friends. You failed them on paper and then helped them remediate and passed them on the retest and stood next to them at the coffee machine afterward. That is what the role requires. The salary in this position is somewhere between $80,000 and $110,000, often slightly less than the flying salary because the per diem and international allowances disappear when you are not flying international routes regularly. You took the pay cut knowingly, because this work matters in a different way. Every crew member you train correctly is a person who can manage an emergency at 37,000 feet. The value of that does not fit in a salary calculation.
Level 10, the director. You are sitting in an office, not a cockpit, not a galley, not a jump seat. An office, with a window that looks at the airport rather than out of it. You are the director of in-flight services, or vice president of cabin experience, or head of safety and service. The title depends on the airline. The scope is the same. You are responsible for every flight attendant at the carrier. At a major legacy airline, that number is somewhere between 10 and 25,000 people. 10 to 25,000 people whose hiring standards, training programs, uniform standards, safety compliance, service protocols, and career development structures are your responsibility. You have been in this industry for 23 years. You know the job at every level because you did the job at every level. Reserve, line holder, lead, purser, cabin service director, trainer. You got the office because you understood everything beneath it. That is the qualification that the job title does not convey. Your days are now meetings and documents and regulatory compliance reviews and union negotiations and incident investigation reports and new aircraft introduction planning and the annual battle over training budgets. You've not done a safety briefing in 2 years. You miss it. Not the briefing itself, the specific quality of standing at the forward door of an aircraft before the passengers board and knowing that you are ready for anything. That quality does not exist in meetings. You attend a training session with a new hire class on a Tuesday. You sit in the back of the room. You watch them learn the 12-second drill. You watch their hands shake the first time. You watch them do it again. You fly a sector with the line crew twice a year to stay current. When you put on the uniform, something settles in you that nothing else settles. Not authority, not nostalgia, something closer to recognition. This is the thing you are. Underneath the office and the meetings and the budget reviews, this is still what you are. Somewhere today, a new hire is in a classroom learning how to open a door in 12 seconds. She has no idea what the next 20 years look like. She does not know about reserve, about the New Year's Eves at altitude, about the cardiac event over the Atlantic, about the forward galley at midnight with a coffee and a salary calculation and a view of nothing but dark ocean. She knows she passed the assessment. She knows they put wings on her uniform. She knows the briefing is in 40 minutes. She goes to the door. She opens it in 11.5 seconds. The cycle continues.